Why don't you describe for me, as vividly as you can, what it is you're worried about, what it is that the nightmare scenario looks like?
Fortunately, there's very few things, and most of them are very low probability. I rate the chance of a nuclear war in my lifetime as being fairly low. I rate the chance of a widespread epidemic far worse than Ebola in my lifetime is well over 50%. An epidemic that would be more infectious and would spread faster than Ebola did. This is the greatest risk of a huge tragedy. This is the most likely thing by far to kill over 10 million excess people in a year. One positive thing that can come out of the Ebola epidemic, it's that it can serve as an early warning, a wake-up call to get ready. If we start now, we can be ready for the next epidemic.
Everybody on planet Earth should see this and send it out to everyone that is out there, so that everybody knows that this was the whole plan that they did back in October, where they had a coronavirus and they anticipated 33 million people dying around the world. So it's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security and the World Economic Forum.
Oh yeah, they're they're right there with the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, more of these globalist groups, obviously.
So in this, you can see they have a bunch of videos that everyone should watch, in which they have the whole thing played out, and they have fake media people. They have people playing reporters and news anchors. They have so-called experts and doctors and virologists and all these things, and they're saying what they have to do. We need the private and the government and private corporations to all work together. All the control has to come from the WHO itself, the top of the pyramid, basically. And they say in the fourth one, in the segment 4, which you're just scrolling by there, communications discussion epilogue video, they have the whole thing play out, in which they have the media saying that the biggest threat to the world is the disinformation and misinformation. And they actually say in that video with fake news anchors, fake CNN and all that, they say we're going to shut down the internet to take control of everything. People need to know this. This is vital information, because everything that is happening right now is playing out exactly as they did. And the whole corona thing started like 3 weeks after this. What are the chances that there is the exact same scenario playing out just weeks after they have a massive conference featuring all these globalist agencies coming together, playing out an actual pandemic? You know how it works, right? When you're dealing with the numbers, you always drop the zero. You drop the zero, right? Because you see here, event 2, World 1. It's really Event 21, which of course is Agenda 21.
At its core, Agenda 21 is about control. Control over land, natural resources, and entire populations. It seeks to control the air by regulation of carbon emissions, the ground by sustainable development, and the sea through environmental regulations. Officially stated, Agenda 21 is a comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations system, governments, and major groups in every area in which human impacts on the environment. Because being human will always have an impact on the environment, Agenda 21 paves the way for extraordinary UN control. When you boil it down, there are 9 basic tenets of Agenda 21. Move citizens off private land and into urban housing. Create vast wilderness spaces inhabited by large carnivores. Eliminate cars and create walkable cities. Support chosen private businesses with public funds for sustainable development. Make policy decisions that favor the greater good over individuals. Drastically reduce the use of power, water, and anything else that creates carbon pollution. Use bureaucracies to make sweeping decisions outside of democratic processes. Increase taxes, fees, and regulations. And finally, implement policies meant to incentivize a reduced population. Controlling our every impact on the environment means controlling every aspect of our lives. What we eat, how we travel, where we live, how we live. But
Taking people's freedoms away. Nobody can have cars or anything. Everybody has to drive electric cycles and stuff like that. And it's a one world currency and everything like that. So everything that's happening out of this event is setting the table for Agenda 21.
The goal of the Event 201 exercise is to illustrate the potential consequences of a pandemic and the kinds of societal and economic challenges it would pose.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually, farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died. Experts agree, unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere. Even so, some people only exhibit mild flu-like symptoms, not requiring treatment in a hospital. Alarmingly, those people are able to walk around and spread the virus, not realizing they are doing so. Even worse, international travelers have been arriving at their destinations symptom-free, but within a matter of hours, becoming ill. Travel-related cases have blossomed into outbreaks in a number of locations and have quickly grown faster than health authorities could respond and contain them. In other places, physicians have quickly recognized the symptoms of CAPS and have been able to isolate infected individuals and avoid an outbreak, for now. Global public health experts are very concerned about this disease because it appears the virus is readily transmitted through the air from person to person. Essentially, all people are susceptible.
We could be looking at double the number of cases in 1 week and 16 times as many in a month if we are not able to stop the spread. That would be on the order of 500,000 cases, and it would continue to rise exponentially. In 3 months, we could be approaching 10 million cases.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
Are reacting in different ways as to how best to manage the overwhelming amounts of dis and misinformation circulating over the internet. In some cases, limited internet shutdowns are being implemented to quell panic.
The line between disinformation and misinformation is not always an easy one to find.
Governments need to be willing to do things that are out of their historical perspective, or for the most part, it's really a war footing that we need to be on.
It can happen quickly. A Marshall-type plan, don't mean to say that exactly, but a Marshall plan that can go into effect can stimulate a change very quickly.
The distrust relates to the health system more generally.
A step up from the part of the government on enforcement actions against fake news.
I think a couple of things we have to consider are, even before this began, the anti-vaccine movement was very strong, and this is something specifically through social media that has spread.
Welcome to Event 201.
The outcome of the CAPS pandemic in Event 201 was catastrophic. 65 million people died in the first 18 months. The outbreak was small at first and initially seemed controllable, but then it started spreading in densely crowded and impoverished neighborhoods of megacities. From that point on, the spread of the disease was explosive. Within 6 months, cases were occurring in nearly every country. The global economy was in a free fall. The GDP down 11%. Stock markets around the world plummeted between 20 and 40% and headed into a downward cycle of fear and low expectation. Businesses were not borrowing, banks were not lending. Everyone was just hoping to hunker down and weather the storm. Economists say the economic turmoil caused by such a pandemic will last for years, perhaps a decade. The societal impacts, the loss of faith in government, the distrust of news, and the breakdown of social cohesion could last even longer. We have to ask, did this need to be so bad? Are there things we could have done in the 5 to 10 years leading up to the pandemic that would have lessened the catastrophic consequences? We believe the answer is yes. So, are we as a global community now finally ready to do the hard work needed to prepare for the next pandemic?
So I believe what we have here is clear evidence that all of what's transpiring has been planned out. That doesn't, I'm not saying that there isn't something and that people shouldn't take precautions. I want to make that clear because you know there is a chance that they did release a bioweapon. But I'm saying that what I see and what I'm terrified of is the police state, the martial law, the destruction of freedom of speech, all these things that they're bringing in.
Holy shit. Look at this headed towards Chicago right now. Holy shit. This was... Chicago's about to go on lockdown.
This is downtown Los Angeles. They got hella tanks down here. Look, right here. Look, I'm walking across the street for y'all. Look. And this is what we dealing with, downtown LA. Y'all won't think I'm bullshitting? Downtown. Look, Dodger Stadium over there, so y'all won't think I'm bullshitting. Y'all better get ready. These motherfuckers about to do some shit to us, bro.
I work at UPS, and I guess they got some information from FEMA recently, like really recently, and like the government, the feds, and who was the other agency? The CDC, that Louisville is getting ready to go into some, like, please share this if you're watching it, because I can't put a caption. I don't know how to tell people. Louisville's getting ready to go into some kind of like government lockdown thing in the next couple days. I don't know if it's going to be to the extent where they have San Francisco and some other countries, but they told us these procedures that I'm just trying to tell everybody. They said they're going to be, people aren't going to be able to go like 3 meters outside their house. They're going to have like tanks blocking the interstate so you can't leave or come into the state. There'll be like police and like just people patrolling. You're not allowed to leave your house. But they're going to keep UPS open and FedEx and the Postal Service because we ship the medicine to like these other places. And I'm sorry, I'm just really up. They're going to be giving us some kind of like paperwork or something. She said she didn't know exactly what they would give us, but basically those that work for those places are going to have like documentation to be able to leave their house, come to work, and go back. And she mentioned like the way they're doing it in San Francisco, I guess, is this way. But like when you leave your house, you're only gonna have a certain amount of time like between your house and when you get to work, and it'll be timed, and you have to like sign out and sign in when you get there. And they said this could be happening in the next couple days at the earliest, but that we're on like track to be there. And there was so much other important information, but that's just really what stuck out. And I just feel like I needed to tell people. Because I haven't heard anything like that on the news, and I feel like it's information they probably haven't made super public yet until just now when they had this meeting with us, because I'm sure people are going to go home and tell their families or whatever. But yeah, I just thought I would tell everybody because it's really terrifying. But basically UPS had FEMA and the CDC and some other, I think just like federal something, call them today and give them some information about the coronavirus and said that Louisville's on track to become like San Francisco and a couple of these countries in England or in Europe, and basically do like the actual like shutdown where they're gonna have tanks on the interstate. You're not gonna be allowed to leave the state. They're gonna be making it so people can't like leave their houses without like signing out with a cop or something, and like the only people that are going to be allowed to leave their houses are people that have to work. And UPS is going to stay open, and a couple other shipping places are going to be the ones that stay open. But basically every other non-essential business is going to be closed. And they said it could, and I don't want to sound like an idiot because this is my supervisor told me all this. I'm just taking everything she said as like the gospel right now. But like, so I could be totally wrong. Like, I don't want to be alarmed. I'm really just trying to tell everybody what I just found out because I think it's really important.
So I'm on 55 north, passing exit 40. I just passed like 50 Humvees, all heading north, like probably towards Chicago, and there's just a sea of them. Looks like maybe they all got activated. Maybe the guard got activated. It's all military police, every one of them. This is crazy, but yeah, I bet you they're going to secure the city because of this virus. They're shutting shit down. Watch, it's a government takeover. You guys better strap up. Be ready for war. It's coming. Got biological warfare going on.
There is one aspect of this pandemic that is raising some eyebrows. The release of some inmates from the Harris County Jail. Our Grace White is downtown with this story.
Here at the Harris County Jail, there has not been a confirmed case of the coronavirus, but that hasn't stopped one attorney from arguing his client was at risk. Behind bars at the Harris County Jail.
I can't imagine how victims' families would feel.
The virus is starting to have an impact on court cases.
I think it's obviously, from our perspective, COVID-19 related. And where it stops, I don't know.
Andy Kahn is the director of victim services for Crime Stoppers. He says he's seeing violent offenders being released on PR bonds, meaning they don't have to pay a dime as long as they show up for court.
Some of the cases that I've been picking up, like I said, are extremely disturbing.
One case even got Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo tweeting, David Cruz, a man charged with murder, released on a PR bond after his attorney said in court documents, quote, the current COVID-19 virus is certainly going to strike the Harris County jail population and spread like wildfire among inmates.
And I'm scratching my head going through all these cases going, this makes zero sense.
Khan's concern is how many more cases are coming.
It's just a matter of time before one of these offenders released on PR bond continues their criminal career, and we certainly hope it doesn't result in bloodshed.
We spoke to the judge and the defense attorney. Both told us this man was granted bond because he had been in jail a long time and the state wasn't ready. The DA's office says they were ready and they did not want this man released.
They're letting prisoners go. Yeah,
Unbelievable, that one, Mal. That's another one.
Okay, so this is happening, folks. Some of the states now are starting to release prisoners because of the virus, right? This is what they're saying. So they're letting inmates out of the prisons. At the same time, I don't know if you saw this, KJ. I reported on it yesterday. I did a video. Philadelphia suspended normal police operations. So the Philadelphia Police Department is no longer going to respond to normal sort of crimes. Theft, auto theft, right? All these different, there's a whole list that they released.
But isn't Philadelphia the same one who's not going to prosecute smaller crimes, right?
Yeah,
and they release the prisoners. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So all this is happening at the same time. Now, what do they show you in the Batman movies?
So you expect more to come? Oh yeah, I mean there's people, probably trolls all over the world that would love to use this to divide us and drive us crazy. I would listen, here's what I would listen to. I would listen to the experts from the CDC like Dr. Fauci. I would listen to the people, your governors in your states, the task force in the White House.
Not everyone is coming to the future. Not everyone is learning from the past. Not everyone is coming to the future. Not everyone that feels is gonna last. You ain't broken. Come get broken. Heal the broken. Come get broken.
It's the future when we come from being boss. It's the future where you gotta pay the cost. It's the future where you come from being lost. It's the future crucifixion on the cross. But you know that I'm a rock above it all. Yeah. Wake up.
A wake-up call to get ready.
They're not entertainment. They're, you make a mistake of thinking that you go to the movies. It's like Disney. It's not entertainment. It's programming, and it's occultic magic. It's their black magic, and it's in all their films. And Madonna also had a Corona typewriter. I mean, you can't
see it?
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Well, they both Tom Hanks. I just want folks to think about this. Both Tom Hanks and Madonna travel around the world with Corona typewriters just because they like them. I mean, that's how it's just amazing that anybody would.
Right, and whenever we first found out about Tom Hanks and his wife with Corona, who told us? Their, cheeseball son Chet, who makes sure he does it on Instagram without a freaking shirt on. And I showed the people a month ago. I was like, look at this guy's new tattoo. We talked about it a month ago. Now here it is, like 15, 20 million views that thing's had now. Because that kid is putting that symbol into everybody's mind, and he's associating it with this C virus. So then we put that with the 33s. So guys, again, we know it's not telling us where it's all going to go, but it's showing us that this is a coordinated effort, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And again, like I'll say this. I mean, I can go on all night with the predictive programming, martial law, and complete takeover of and destruction of freedom of speech, and Orwellian sort of spy system that they're establishing. Than I am of any sort of virus, right? Like I think it's all a scapegoat for bringing in all the things that they're trying to do.
Hey guys, I'm really stressed out right now. It's been coming to my attention that a lot of Trump supporters have been figuring out the truth about me and my family, being in the, you know what I'm talking about? And I don't know what to do right now because everything's starting to come to light. I mean, and it is true. So it's like, I don't know how this is going to affect our whole New World agenda. Ever since The Simpsons predicted my dad being the spokesperson for the coronavirus, even though they didn't predict anything, it's been troublesome, to say the least. I guess I'm just going to have to work extra hard at my human sacrifices. I'm late for one right now, and I'm a little hungry, so I might eat someone's pineal gland on the way. But just know that we're watching you, and if you're talking shit on the internet, you're going to be the first people sent to the FEMA camps. So,
All right, so I'm trying to slow down to this truck. We came up by it, and I was like, are those FEMA coffins? And my wife just saw, look right there. They are FEMA coffins, burial vaults. They're burial vaults. Wow. Burial vaults. Get a look at the FEMA coffins. Look.
Look at them. They're right there. That's it.
I don't know where they're shipping them, but look, just so you know, we're not playing no games.
We are
look
not
at the
playing
side of the
games.
truck. Look at the side of the truck. It says burial vaults. No games. Look at that. They're from Indiana. All right, I'll take it back off. Hey.
We just saw it.
It ain't no joke.
Claimed to be a member of a school board, and she was claiming that she was recently put on notice that while the schools will be shut down during this quarantine time, during the next few weeks, that private contractors will be hired to come out to many of the school districts to install brand new systems. And if you haven't already heard on my last video where I talked about the impacts of 60 gigahertz frequency, just be clear, it is not all the same. Part of the confusion around is that it's ambiguous on purpose. They call everything G when it's actually a huge range of frequencies. G is going to encompass somewhere around 5 gigahertz all the way up to hundreds of gigahertz, okay, all the way up into the terabyte ranges. So we know that 60 gigahertz, and this is what I really wanted to hone in on, the 60 gigahertz frequency that is ultimately the plan for the network, the sort of hive mind Internet of Things network, that is the one that has very real implications and interactions on the oxygen molecule itself. What you need to know is this has not been tested by telecom at all. They've admitted that themselves. Hasn't been tested on people, hasn't been tested on bees, songbirds, so it's criminal that 60 gigahertz or any actually of these millimeter waves would be released on people without finding out exactly what this interference with the oxygen molecule does to our health. What does it do to our lungs? What does it do to the air we breathe? They don't know because they haven't tested it. Anyway, I wanted to show you this reciprocation that this woman had sent to Logic Before Authority. Let me just go ahead and read it so you guys can get an idea of what she said. The first thing she said was this: I work for the local school board. 5G has been getting a lot of bad press lately. The U.S. Department of Education has been wanting to roll out the 5G network in many district schools. Unfortunately, the parents as a whole would try to stop the implementation of it, so the U.S. Department of Education decided to close the schools during the pandemic. She says for 2 reasons. 1, to make parents think it's for children's safety against the virus, and 2, to install 5G networks in many district schools. 5G companies have been instructed to use the guise of a, quote, disinfecting company. Strict orders. If anyone asks your cleaning company there to disinfect the schools, do not tell anyone that you are there installing 5G. All contractors must sign a non-disclosure agreement! Exclamation mark. Please help is how she ended that. Daniel got back to her by saying, we are talking about a worldwide situation. There's nothing going on just at your school district. However, what they are doing at your school district, they are likely doing across the nation. We don't need to mention the name of your county or the name of your state, but I do need the truth. Isn't that why I am here and you are here? This is important. She followed up by saying, yes, I just texted you that there is more classified information. She put classified in quotes because obviously it's not that classified, but says if they are doing this in my district, then they must be doing it nationwide. I also have other information I choose not to divulge, like names of contractors, dates, times, installs, and locations, etc. I didn't tell you nationwide. You figure that out for yourself. I have access to the U.S. Department of Education web server for my district. For some crazy reason, my login allows me to venture out of my district into other local districts and the national programs. I can't believe how many schools are going to roll out and implement the 5G networks in such a short period of time. Yes, it's the truth. Most of this has to be done by mid-April. The hundreds or thousands that may know it and be asleep have been notified that 5G is safe. But it has gotten bad press by the conspiracy theorists. We therefore ask you to refrain from acknowledging the public of this upgrade. We don't need parents with false fears of 5G in this time of the corona pandemic. Basically, she admitted that was not verbatim, but a close approximation of the email that she got. I assume it was an email, something that she logged into, whatever. Yes, please don't mention my district. Also, I'm one of a few in my state. I would appreciate anonymity. Okay, so that's not a lot of people. If this is true, there are people high up within the school boards that are elected, I guess, to positions of power within the state, the Department of Education, who know about this. There's a lot of states out there, guys. I'm thinking that we need to put this out and to see if you guys can either help me to confirm or deny this. The Logic Before Authority channel is calling this a confirmation. I don't call this a confirmation until we can see some sort of reciprocation, perhaps a screenshot of the email that they are seeing, perhaps a list of these contractors. I would be very happy and willing to put my neck out to help someone who wants to be anonymous and to show people what they need to know about what is happening potentially behind our backs.
Alright, these cops are acting weird. How's it going? Question for you. Why are you writing my license plate down?
Any other questions you got?
No, I want to know why you're writing my license plate down.
Thanks for your question.
And why you're all standing around here. Why are there cops here at the school? What are you guys installing?
Any other questions?
No, you want to answer any of them?
Nope, I don't.
Why?
Because I don't have to. I don't want to.
Why are there 3 cops here that aren't even in
What are you
cop
doing over
clothes? I'm trying to
Are
figure
you
out
going
what
to church?
I'm trying to figure out what everybody's doing at these schools.
Are you on private property there? Why are you parked in there?
That's a real deflective question.
It really is.
Why can't you answer any of
I
mine?
don't want to.
Because you're up
Why
to
don't
no
you
good,
answer
aren't
my
you?
question?
Are you trying to kill my kids?
I'm trying to kill your kids?
Yeah, what are you guys
got
doing
some
here?
identification on you?
I don't think that matters.
I think we need to call some law enforcement over here.
I think
You're
we have
acting
some.
weird.
I haven't done anything wrong. I have rights.
You're coming over here asking weird questions.
Weird questions
Yeah,
that
weird
you won't
questions.
answer.
You think people are trying to kill you?
No,
and
I
your family.
don't. I'm questioning if you guys are installing 5G in this school. Because I have it on a good source that you are.
Okay.
And will you answer that question?
Nope, I won't.
You won't answer
Nope.
it? Okay. I'll make sure to share this record with
You
people.
go do that.
Thank you.
I got your plate.
Is that a threat? You have my plates?
I got your plate.
So you're what, gonna show up at my house and do something? I'm not afraid of you, man.
And you think you're recording and you think that's appropriate? Why are you recording this?
Because it's
Why are you
suspicious.
recording this?
Because it's suspicious. All right.
You think people are trying to kill you? and your
I
family.
think that you guys are installing 5G and it's very dangerous.
Okay.
And you guys are told to lie about it.
Stop recording me. You don't have my permission to record me.
Okay, this is a free
Stop
country.
recording.
Goodbye.
Stop recording.
I don't think so.
Right, here we go. Here we go. All the bark's falling off. All on the left hand side. Look on the left hand side of that tree. Look on the right hand side. That's alright. Yeah. Right, well look at the right hand side of the tree. Look at the flower. Look at the bushes. Look at the green bushes. Yeah. Very nice. Look at the left hand side. Dead. You know why? Because that's right next to it. Have you seen anything like that in your life? It's got a light right there. The transmitter on the top. These transmitters are lethal. If that's what it's doing to a tree, right next to a tree, think about what these are doing to our health. Just think about that for a minute.
What are you guys doing here?
Putting a fiber optic
What is it for?
for the school.
For what though?
Just internet,
For what kind of internet?
e-text.
Does that have anything to do with 5G?
Yes.
So they're installing 5G here at this school? Do you know why they're doing it while all the parents are at home and nobody knows what's going on?
Well, this actually started since December last year. And this is nothing to do with what's going on or none of that.
Okay, so it's not being done behind our backs.
No.
Do you know that 5G is going to be very harmful for children and that cancer is going to skyrocket?
No.
What you're doing is going to harm a lot of children.
I hope not. I mean, I'm just a contractor for them, so.
I know. A lot of us parents are very, very concerned though.
Yeah.
Maybe something you might want to talk about with your chain of command or something.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. You too.
What's this? 5G? Oh my god.
During a live stream right now.
Wow.
They just ran into guys.
Unbelievable.
So they just ran into guys on this live stream that they're recording right now. And they asked these guys what they're doing. Hey, they go, hey, are you installing 5G? Sure enough. Bam. 100% smoking gun proof that this is at least part of their plan. Installing 5G while everybody's inside.
Wow, guys. Guys, I have never seen the 5G.
See, this is literally live right now, currently.
Installed before this was going on. Now, here we go. The 5G You guys, they just have a job. They just have a job. They're not going to ask any questions, right? And this is exactly how compartmentalization works.
Wait while I transfer your call.
High school office, this is Valerie.
Hey there. I just noticed some white vans in the parking lot. I was wondering if you could tell me what they were doing.
Who is this?
This is Jim.
Okay.
Just from the city, you know. I was just wondering. I noticed they were contractor vans. I was just wondering if there was anything scheduled at the high school today for them to be working on.
Yep, we've got stuff going on.
Oh, is it related to the virus at all?
No.
Oh, is it anything to do with the 5G?
Now, I have 10 minutes. I wasn't sure I was going to get to this stage, but I can't help but say something about this whole coronavirus thing, if you want me to. In 1918, after the biggest pandemic, the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, Steiner was asked, what was this all about? And he said, well, viruses are simply excretions of a toxic cell. Viruses are pieces of DNA or RNA with a few other proteins. They bud out from the cell. They happen when the cell is poisoned. They are not the cause of anything. And the cells get poisoned. They try to purify themselves by excreting debris, which we call viruses. If you go to the current theory of viruses called exosomes, and the latest head of the NIH giving a talk on the complexity of viruses, you will see this is perfectly in line with the current thinking on what a virus really is. I had a dramatic example of this when I was growing up. Right outside our house, there was a wetlands, and they're full of frogs, and the frogs kept me up at night, so I taped the windows, and in the spring they made a big racket. And then over time, the frogs were all gone. How many thinks the frogs had a genetic disease? How many thinks the frogs had a virus? How many thinks somebody put DDT into the water? That's what happened. Diseases are poisoning. So what happened in 1918? There was a huge, in every pandemic in the last 150 years, there was a quantum leap in the electrification of the Earth. In 1918, late fall of 1917, there was the introduction of radio waves around the world. Whenever you expose any biological system to a new electromagnetic field, you poison it, you kill some, and the rest go into a kind of suspended animation, so that interestingly, they live a little bit longer and sicker. And then starts in World War II with the next pandemic, with the introduction of radar equipment all over the Earth, blanketing the entire Earth in radar fields. First time humans have ever been exposed to that. In 1968, there was the Hong Kong flu, and it was the first time the Earth has a protective layer in the Van Allen belt, which essentially integrates the cosmic fields from the sun and the Earth, from the moon and Jupiter, etc., integrates that and essentially distributes that to the living beings of the Earth. And we put satellites emitting radioactive frequencies in the Van Allen belt. Within 6 months, we had a new viral pandemic. Why viral? Because the people are poisoned, they excrete toxins, they look like viruses. People think it's a flu epidemic. In the 1918, the epidemic, the Boston Health Department decided to investigate the contagiousness of this. So they, believe it or not, took hundreds of people with the flu and they sucked the snot out of their nose and injected it into the healthy people who didn't have the flu, and not one time could they make the next person sick. They did this over and over again, and they were not able to demonstrate contagion. They even did it with horses who apparently got the Spanish flu, and they put bags over their head and the horses sneezed in the bag, and they put the bag over the next horse, and not one horse got sick. You can read about this in a book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg, who chronicles all the steps in the electrification of the earth and how within 6 months there was a new flu pandemic all over the world. And when you hear the normal explanations, how did it go from Kansas to South Africa in 2 weeks? So the entire world got the symptoms at the same time, in spite of the fact that the mode of transportation was horseback and boats, and there's no explanation for it. They just say, we don't know how that happened. But when you think about it, with these radio waves and other frequencies that some of you have in your pocket and on your wrist, you can send a signal to Japan and it arrives instantaneously. So any of you who don't believe there is an electromagnetic field that communicates globally within seconds just is not paying attention to this. And I will only finish by pointing out that there has been a dramatic and quantum leap in the last 6 months with the electrification of the earth. And I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. It's called 5G, where they now have 20,000 radiation emitting satellites, just like the radiation emitting thing in your pocket and on your wrist and that you use all the time. That is not compatible with health. I'm sorry to say it, it's not compatible with health. That is a water destructuring device. And for any of you who say, yeah, well, we're not electrical beings, we're just physical matter, then don't bother doing an EKG or an EEG or a nerve conduction test, because we are electrical beings and the chemicals are only the byproduct of those electrical impulses. And I'll finish with, anybody want to make one guess as to where the first completely blanketed 5G city in the world was? Exactly. So when you start thinking about this, we are in an existential crisis here, folks, the likes of which humankind has never seen. And I don't want to go all Old Testament prophet on you, but this is something that is unprecedented. The putting of 100,000 satellites in the very blanket of the earth. And by the way, as I was going to say earlier, this actually has something to do with the vaccine question, and this got brought home to me because about a year ago or so, I had a patient who came in who was totally fine, a surfer and all, and then he works as an electrician putting in Wi-Fi systems for very wealthy people. Electricians have a very high mortality rate, but he was fine. And then he breaks his arm and he gets a metal plate put in his arm. 3 months later, he couldn't get out of bed and was total, heart irregularities, just total collapse. The susceptibility has to do with how much metal you have in your body, as well as the quality of the water in your cells. So if you start injecting aluminum in people, they become receptors for absorbing increased electromagnetic fields, and that is a perfect storm for the kind of deterioration of the species, which is what we're now experiencing.